Kirti Kulhari, a pleasure to have you here at the BBC. How are you?
I'm very good, Haroon. It's been a great stay at London. It's been a month, I was telling you, and yeah, tomorrow is when I leave this city, beautiful city.
Well, thank you so much for making time for me before you left the city. Of course, you've been here shooting the Hindi remake of The Girl on the Train, and as we were coming upstairs, I was confused about what your character is and how it's been adapted and why it's in London. I'm sure at this point there's very little you can tell us about the film itself, but can you tell us what your character is or how you fit into the narrative?
Yeah, so I'm playing a cop in the film. I'm playing a British cop, obviously, and she's the one who's investigating this whole case. So whatever is there in the book and the original film, it's much lesser in terms of my role, and for the Hindi version, it's kind of like, you know, I won't say stretched, but it's just like it's just built a lot more.
It is really Kirti Kulhari's year because, of course, you had Uri, the surgical strike at the start of the year. You've had Mission Mangal as well. You're shooting The Girl on the Train remake, and in the middle, of course, was Four More Shots, Please, as well.
Right after Uri. Yeah.
Right after Uri. Does it feel like this has all been a long time coming? Does it feel like you've waited a long time to have this kind of vindication almost from the audiences?
I mean, yes and no, you know. Yes, because yes, I mean, you when you work so hard, you know, you're always you love your job, you work so hard, you know you are good at it, you know. You obviously, like everyone needs that validation, which usually comes in the form of success, like commercial success. And so yes, I think it's been a long time, you know, and since I've been waiting for this, and this year it's just kind of falling in place. Everything is kind of falling in place. Everything is being received so well, and it's being critically acclaimed. It's doing so well at the box office. So yes, it's all finally, you know, fallen in place. Having said that, I also know that this is not what decides what I do next, you know, or what it should not decide the course I follow in the times to come, because I think the moment you start thinking about you know, the moment you start tasting a little bit of success, a part of you really starts worrying about, oh, is this going to happen again? Yeah. You know, am I going to be able to maintain this rise, you know, which I think, if you're very practical in life and you understand a lot of other aspects, no, that's not how life functions, you know. It's bound to be this.
But how much does having a hit film change the narrative for you? I mean, how much does it help you when you're part of a film like Uri the Surgical Strike, which is currently the second highest grossing film of this year?
Yeah.
How much more credibility does it even maybe add to when you are kind of putting yourself out there for more work?
I mean, it really works in your favor, man. You can't deny that part at all. I mean, no matter what amazing work I'm doing, when commercial success comes to me in the form of numbers, it really strengthens my position in the market, in the industry. It helps me get better and bigger films, you know, and bigger means a lot, because you want your work to reach out to as many people as possible, you know. I have never really been a very massy face, you know, but with Uri, with Mission Mangal, they have millions of people have seen the film.
Is that how you set out to make a place for yourself in this industry so many years ago? Because of course, when somebody comes into any industry, there's a almost wide-eyed naivety about oneself, and there's an innocence about oneself, and you're constantly an optimist and you just want to do the best kind of roles, but that doesn't necessarily work in an actor's favor, right? You have to be quite strategic about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, see, first of all, Haroon, not everyone, when you start your career in this industry, not everyone starts with the thought of, oh, I want to be an amazing actor. I mean, people have very different goals. Some people want to be, there's so many people who want to be stars. I mean, they literally say it aloud, saying, oh, I want to be a star. Yeah. I don't even know what that means, you know. So some people want to be famous, some people want to have loads of money, some people love the, you know, the glamour side of this or whatever that offers. So it's, people start with different goals, and that's why I was saying that my goal was to really do a very good job as an actor. So yes, you know, when you start off and when you are going through this, it takes a while for you to understand that it's not just about that, that it's not enough for me to just do amazing roles. It's important that the amazing roles I do are being seen, are reaching the right audiences. And you kind of, I think, while it's almost like your head, it's like a conflict between your head and heart, where your heart is, as an actor, you want to do a certain kind of work, a certain kind of a role, be a part of certain films and work with certain people. And your head is telling you, okay, you know what, Kirti, you need to also do this, So I think now is the time when I'm kind of balancing both.
Uri the Surgical Strike was a controversial film as well.
Yeah.
For many people it was seen to be a piece of political propaganda, and for some people it was seen to have quite problematic representations of its Muslim characters or Pakistani characters. And Bard of Blood has actually been accused of the same. And we'll talk about Bard of Blood in a second. But how much do you give that thought, and how important is it to you that the film is aligned to your own sense of morals?
I feel a lot of responsibility as an actor, so I will never really be like, oh, let's just do it for the heck of it. You're very right, when you do films like Uri and Mission Mangal, and I did a film called Hindu Sarkar as well, there's a lot of responsibility that you kind of feel, because you're touching subjects which are sensitive, which you don't know the whole story about, there are versions of truths that you are kind of presented with. And having said that, is it really possible to know the whole truth every time? No, it's not. You will always mostly have versions of truths. And all I have to see is is this the version of truth that I agree with, that I can be a part of? And I think, and that's what pretty much decides it. And having said that, Haroon, I mean, yes, there's always, like, especially with Uri and Mission Mangal, and there's been a debate about, oh, they are supported or produced by the government and stuff like that. It's a propaganda film and all of that. And I think that's something that I don't kind of pay heed to, because that's not what is the message, what is it that you experience by watching that film? I would rather talk about good things, that are happening in the country, than just keep talking about what's not right.
So you mentioned Uri the Surgical Strike and you mentioned Mission Mangal there. I saw both those films, and I saw both quite differently, in the sense that I didn't find any issues with Mission Mangal. I thought it was a really good entertainer, and it was great that it was celebrating patriotism for India. But there's a difference between a Mission Mangal and a Uri the Surgical Strike, which is a film that has dialogues like, hum unke ghar mein unko ghus ke marenge, or whatever it might have been. It's quite an aggressive representation of patriotism, isn't it? It's quite a nationalistic representation of patriotism. And the people who consume those films aren't just Indians, they are people from all over South Asia, including Pakistanis as well. So do you feel any sense of responsibility about the way though other people will view those films, because it's not just Indians watching those films? Yeah,
but again, as I said, it's a point of view. We as Indians are making the film and showing our side of the story, right? If Pakistanis go ahead and make the same film, it'll be from their perspective, and they'll be allowed to say what they want to say. Then as Indians, we should be able to digest that as well.
In 2016, after the actual Uri attack, of course, Pakistani actors were banned from working in Bollywood at the time, and there was a very strict end in cultural exchange then. But it did feel before the Pulwama attack that things were starting to make a little bit of progress again, and again it's come to a complete halt, and it feels like it's come to an even bigger halt than it had 3 years ago. Like I said, do you think it's gone too far? Do you think there's any reconciliation in sight at all?
Well, I personally feel there's always hope for reconciliation. I mean, I think that's an option that I don't think anybody should kind of be like, oh, this is not possible. It's like life, there is always hope for everything just working out at the end of the day. And I don't think whether it's Uri or whether it's Pulwama, there are, of course, incidents happening, and the way they are happening, it just seems like it's just getting tougher, to kind of get through to each other. And I feel in the bigger picture, it's okay. It's, as I said, it's not it's been going on for a long time. Sometimes it's like a storm before the silence, or a silence before the storm. In this case, it seems like the storm, and you're like, oh God, it's just seems worse than ever. But maybe, I would really hope that I would always want to be very optimistic about this. And we are all, I don't think people want to be at war. I don't think people want to live with the hatred towards each other. People want to live in a peaceful world, and I think when the better sense prevails in a better situation, I'm sure everybody is going to do what needs to be done. Like
Bard of Blood, which is your next project,
yeah.
has faced similar accusations. I mean, Kirti Kulhari is almost becoming the poster girl of these problems between India and Pakistan. You must have seen that criticism that Bard of Blood's trailer faced, which was that a small section of the audience thought that the trailer again promoted bad relations between India and Pakistan. Do you want to just expand on that and just clear up the misconceptions?
Get me in a lot of trouble.
Well, no. This is the trailer. This is what people have seen,
yeah.
and this is what people have said as well. So, do you want to just clear up any misconceptions people might have?
Yeah, again, like before I came on board for Bard of Blood, I'm not a very well-informed person, okay, in general. Like, I don't really keep up with the latest news and what's happening in the world. And I mean, of course, I know bits about here and there, but my, being a part of things, the kind of projects I do, that kind of pushes me in a direction which is a new direction. So for me, when Bard happened, and I'm like, okay, so there's Pakistan, there's Balochistan. I mean, I'd heard of Balochistan, but what is Balochistan?
And Balochistan is a state within Pakistan.
Exactly, I'm saying, so I started being informed about it, and and honestly, every time I do get a script, I'm like, is this true? Is this based on true things, or it's just fiction? And then I'm told that no, this much is fictional and this is true and this is how it happens and this and that. So for me, honestly, anything that's real, anything that's true, it becomes even more interesting. I want to be a part of that even more, because as I was mentioning earlier, I feel we should not shy away from what is, which we all tend to, like in a country like India, we tend to shy away from. We are scared of showing what is in its totality.
So your character is completely fictional in this, because your character's been written in.
Yes.
And Bilal's novel, so Bilal Siddiqui, who actually worked for Red Chillies as well for a long time, this is his novel that's been adapted for screen.
Yes, it's his novel, and so when I was called for the film and I was just generally talking about it, I'm like, oh, that sounds very interesting, Jannat, and like the whole character sounded very interesting to me. And as I said, I mean, for me, one of the most interesting parts was that I was getting to play a Baluchi girl, and it's amazing, Haroon, like we were just talking about India, Pakistan, I'm telling you, Haroon, by the end of the shoot, I actually felt more Baluchi than Indian. Like there was no Indian left in me. It was almost like I was fighting for them. I'd almost become their voice, which I kind of do in the show as well. But it just, that's what happens to you, when you start, even though it's a character you're portraying, you start relating, you start understanding the struggles and the pains, and that these other people who you have not even heard of, you start relating to it. You kind of start what is the word, channeling it, and so it's as simple as that, like we are all humans, it's I mean, I don't think the idea of films is to kind of go like, come on guys, go and be at war.
In this case, it's really interesting because of course you have Netflix overseeing
That's what
this.
I'm saying.
So you have an external figure.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how it changes when there is somebody like Netflix or an organization like Netflix involved in the kind of production of this. How much oversight do they have into the specifics of representation in the show, for example?
They have absolute authority throughout the process. Whether it's writing, whether it's the show being the pre-prod, the shooting, every day the footage kind of goes to them, and they have an authority every single day to say we don't want this. So yes, you're very right. We have someone like Netflix who's huge, and who is I think very, very responsible as an organization. They're putting out content out there for the world to see on an everyday basis. I mean, they sure are not here to jeopardize their position because of something between two countries. I think we kind of need to take a step back and not take everything personally, because really films and politics are not connected. You know, we really are operating very differently, and the way we are as people are very different.
Away from the serious side of it, is working in the digital space a more liberating place for you as an actress in India right now? Bar the Blood is grittier than your average Bollywood film, and Four More Shots Please is far more explicit than Veera the Wedding, for example, which is what many people might compare it to as well. Is it a more liberating place to be working?
It surely is, yeah, it surely is. I think as an actor you want to express yourself completely, and I think digital medium gives you that opportunity. There is no censorship yet, which I personally feel very, very good about.
But it might be coming.
Sure, yeah, I mean...
And how does that make you feel?
Not very good, actually, because, I mean, for me, censorship is about certifying, you know. The moment you start getting into cuts of, you know, this and that, and you kind of restrict the filmmaker's ability to tell a story the way he or she wants to, for me, that doesn't work. You are kind of... interfering with the creative process, which I'm absolutely not in favor of. So yes, as an actor, you know, compared to a 2 hours film where you're doing what you're doing, you have like minimum 5 hours. Like Four More Shots was half an hour each episode, so it's about 5 hours, 10 episodes, going to anywhere till about 10 hours. So the amount of time you have to actually tell a story, to actually live a character's life, and to take the audiences with you on that ride is much more. You have so much text to play with, you have so much content to play with as an actor, that you really feel liberated in terms of, finally I can just go all out.
A lot of people watching right now will be excited about Four More Shots Please Season 2.
Yes.
Have you started shooting that?
I finished shooting.
Oh, well, you finished shooting
I finished shooting and I came on to shoot this, yeah.
Again, this was a game changer for the representation of women in India. They were liberated, they had an opinion, they were speaking their mind, they weren't afraid to talk about sex. It was a mirror to what to what society really is like. Just tell me, just very briefly, about the reactions you got for that show, and were you surprised by the reactions? Because I think even the producers were surprised by how well it did.
The show did well beyond our expectations. Like it, I mean, while I think I personally felt, I knew that the show is going to be received well, because you kind of just get a sense of it, you know. But yes, I think the kind of response we received for Four More Shots was just so heartwarming. I mean, it doesn't stop. So that's the best thing about digital, you know, like it's not like, oh, this Friday it releases and, then it's, it stays for whatever time and then it's gone. You literally, I mean, people can decide to watch it anytime, and that's exactly what's happening with Four More Shots. I mean, every day I get messages and I'm like, not bad. And girls and women all across have just, I don't know, they just feel so, they feel like they feel free, while we are portraying women who are, free in the show, and as you said, are free to just be who they are. This free to be who they are, Haroon, is such an underrated thing, and we don't realize it till we are allowed that freedom. And I'm so looking forward to season 2, because I know we have taken it, a few steps up, and we are going to talk about many more things, and I'm very sure people are going to, again, relate to it a lot.
Kirti, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Haroon. Thanks so much.
Asian Network.